So, what makes you a god? Hello friends, it's me, and today let's talk about gods and the gods above those gods and the gods in charge of the gods. Oh my god, the gods were above those gods. Oh my god. Wait, Buddha. Oh my Buddha.
Today we're answering a simple question that's been lingering in my head for a while now. What is a god in the MCU? Yeah, it shouldn't be too hard, right?
I am a god, you dull creature.
Okay, so Loki is a god.
We are not gods. We're born, we live, we die.
Okay, so Asgardians are not gods. Someone might want to give that memo to Loki.
Goddess of
So Asgardians are gods?
The humans think us immortal. Should we test that?
Oh, come on!
Come on, give us an answer, please. Marvel MCU Film Theory.
Hello, Internet! Welcome to Film Theory, the show
Hello Internet, welcome to Film Theory. Hi.
that's genetically engineered to click that subscribe button. Well, loyal theorists, after
subscribe.
what could charitably be called a complicated series of delays, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is finally here to help Marvel Studios kick off the beginning of Phase 5.
Surprised to see me?
No, you get out of here, MODOK. You had your chance. Yeah, so despite a challenging few years for Marvel Studios, they got a desperately needed win with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, allowing writer-director James Gunn to finish out his story with these characters with a genuinely heartfelt film before he jumps over to his new job running Marvel's main rival, DC Studios. Fun fact, by the way, Gunn was originally positioned to be sort of a mini Kevin Feige at Marvel, running the entire cosmic side of their universe before Disney temporarily fired him on account of some old controversial tweets, thereby allowing DC to swoop in and scoop him up. That drama resulted in the new Guardians movie dropping 3 years after it was originally intended to release, which means that there's a timeline out there in the multiverse where Endgame would have been followed by Spider-Man Far From Home and then Guardians 3. It doesn't take a theorist brain to realize that firing Gunn might just have been one of the biggest unforced errors in cinema history. That right there, that's a discussion for another day. No, what I want to talk about today is actually a question that I've seen floating around the internet for a while now. What even is a god in the Marvel Cinematic Universe these days? Between the Asgardians, the Celestials, multiversal time travelers, beings that seem to exist outside universes, it's not really clear what a god is anymore. And now, in this most recent Guardians film, you have the main bad guy, the High Evolutionary, who's explicitly called out to be godlike. Characters mentioned that several parts of the galaxy consider him to be a god. The Golden People from Guardians 2, the Sovereign, they were created by him and they treat him as their god. Even the High Evolutionary himself straight up screams his thoughts on the matter at us with the very subtle line, "There is no god." That's why I had to step in. But
Wow, Thor will be angry, God of Lightning, just saying.
for as on the nose as that line is he wrong? I mean, he did create life after all, so is he or is he not a god? At this point, I'm not really sure if Marvel themselves know the answer. And you know, that's kind of a big deal when several of your latest films revolve around the god tier characters. Heck, the entire plot of Thor Love and Thunder was about a villain who wanted to kill all gods. Maybe the audience should have known what a god was before they ran with that story, huh?
So this is my vow. All gods will die.
Hey, if you managed to figure out who's on that list, Gore, more power to ya. You kinda earned it at that point. So, if Marvel isn't gonna answer the question in their movies, I thought we'd take a crack at it, loyal theorists. What exactly is a god in the MCU?
Exactly the same question that I asked at the beginning of the video. What makes you a god?
There any actual gods in the MCU? Well, I think I found the answer in a couple of places you might never imagine. So open the freaking door and hop on in, loyal theorists. It's time to get rolling. When you start breaking the question down, you start to see some key groups forming. The characters of stuff like Greek, Norse, and Egyptian mythology. These tend to be very powerful beings who hold domains over one specific aspect of the universe. It can either be tangible, measurable stuff like the moon or thunder, or more intangible concepts like war, mischief. The MCU has these sorts of characters in spades, as it seems like most major religions throughout the history of Earth are based on them. Thor, Loki, Odin, all the other Asgardians, they're picture-perfect examples of this, as are the Olympians that we met during Love and Thunder like Zeus and Hercules. There's the Egyptian gods of Moon Knight, as well as Namor from Wakanda Forever, who acts as a representative of Mesoamerican gods. Even characters like the Eternals seem to fit into this category because apparently several of Earth's myths were based on their lives.
Humanity once believed we were gods.
The flying Superman Icarus evolved into the legend of the boy
Flying
who flew too
Superman.
close to the sun. The legendary warrior Athena became Athena, the goddess of wisdom and warfare.
Athena, you're eternal, the legendary protector of Athens, the goddess of war.
And yet, even at this lowest tier of godhood, things get confusing in a hurry. Sprite in the Eternals claims that the Greek goddess Athena was inspired by Athena, but then we see the Roman deity Minerva wandering around Omnipotent City in Love and Thunder. Minerva is the Roman version of Athena. She's the same goddess, she just has a different name. How's that work? And in general,
Oh, awkward. That's pretty awkward.
the rest of the Omnipotent crew are inconsistent in the way that they choose to manifest. Sometimes these characters are real physical beings that exist in the material universe who can feel pain and die.
We are not gods. We're born, we live, we die, just as humans do.
Other times they need people in order to harness their power, where gods like Khonshu in Moon Knight and Boston Black Panther have to act through a human representative.
What are you?
I serve Khonshu. I'm his avatar, which means you are too, sort of.
Khonshu,
Yeah.
the Egyptian god of the moon.
That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Sort of like an avatar system.
Avatars. Blue people. Love that film.
By avatar,
You mean that?
what I mean.
Anime.
And while they
Yeah, there are two different avatars. The one with the blue people and the one with the 4 avatar states. The one
human avatar
is that water, air, fire, earth, something like that.
can die, the god remains. And the only way to get rid of them is to imprison them in little idols for thousands of years. In every single one of these cases, they all seem to just be highly advanced creatures that are lowly human meat brains confused for gods. Jane Foster really sums this up best in Thor 1.
Well, magic's just science that we don't understand yet.
In general, these groups are classified as gods by the humans in the MCU, but they're not actual gods. Well, sure, sometimes they'll call themselves gods, like Loki in Avengers or Hela in Ragnarok. That's just them flexing their might relative to their audience. When push truly comes to shove, and when they're honest with themselves, they know deep down that they're not actual gods.
You are not
Puny
a god.
god.
You know that, right?
Asgardians and Olympians are basically
Puny
just
god.
long-lived, very human-looking aliens. Namor is just a mutant. The Eternals are weird flesh robots. The closest thing I think we have to actual gods in this category are the Egyptian pantheon, because they do seem to have some outright control over souls and afterlives. But even then, I'm not convinced that they don't have themselves a physical form hidden out there somewhere in the MCU that can eventually be killed. For
Oh, very killable gods. Not exactly the gods that we imagined. Right? Right?
instance, we know Bast from Black Panther has control over the afterlife and acts through a human avatar, just like Khonshu in Moon Knight. And yet, we also see her physical form manifested in Omnipotent City during Thor: Love and Thunder. She's there hanging out with a bunch of other powerful, but ultimately killable beings. Because of that, I think we can confidently conclude that none of these characters are actually gods. They're just super powerful, mortal beings. So what's next then? Well, the second archetype that I can think here is your classic creators. Characters who are said to have crafted entire worlds simply because they wanted to. Interestingly, the High Evolutionary thinks that he fits into this category, having created creatures like Rocket and the Sovereign, but when you actually stop and look at who else is here, it seems like Herbert might be a bit out of his league. It's here that you find characters like the Celestials, those giant alien robot gods that use Infinity Stones like they're nothing.
I plant celestial seeds into host planets across the universe.
Ego, the living planet from Guardians 2, a Celestial, literally wanted to transform every planet he visited into another version of himself. The other Celestials, they've just been seeding worlds with life in an effort to get themselves to reproduce. There's also Dormammu, the big bad evil guy from the first Doctor Strange. He's ruler of the Dark Dimension. He eats realities to combine them with himself. Seems awfully godlike. And when Galactus is eventually added to the universe in the Fantastic Four movie, I'd expect him to fall into this category as well. But here's the thing, these guys aren't really gods either. And again, we know this based on their own admission.
I'm what's called a celestial, sweetheart.
A celestial like a god?
Small g, son.
Well,
So it's like a god, but it's a smaller version of it. It's like a miniature version of a god. So what is the full version of a god? What is it?
Lesser beings, these creatures would be considered gods. Again, they recognize that there are higher powers than even themselves. They
Just like how I mentioned, let's talk about gods and the gods above those gods. The gods above those gods.
live, they have a need to reproduce, and they can die.
If you kill me, you'll be just like everybody else.
Heck, the Guardians team spends a lot of time in Nowhere, which is the head of yet another dead Celestial. As for Dormammu, we see that he's able to be affected by the Infinity Stones, which suggests that he's bound by the physical limitations of the world. As Ego says,
if I don't return regularly to my planet and the light within it, this form will wither and perish.
the Celestials and Dormammu are powerful, and are certainly more powerful than the base level of gods that we talked about before, but they're only one rung up on this overall power totem pole. What about something more metaphysical? Characters that exist more like ideas, who are said to have created literally everything in existence. In the context of the MCU, we've only really met one of these so far, the cosmic being Eternity in Thor: Love and Thunder, who had the ability to literally alter reality by granting any wish put before it.
Eternity.
What does he mean, reach eternity? Eternity is a very powerful being, the center of the universe. It will grant the desire of the first person who reaches it.
Based on the statues that we see at Eternity's altar, there are at least 7 of these sorts of entities in the universe. Altering entire universes on a whim seems like something a true god could do, right? Well, yeah, in reality. But in the MCU, it's not quite godlike enough. Look at Kang and his variants. They've spent eons going throughout the multiverse erasing entire realities, and presumably those realities' versions of Eternity and the other gods. Sure, in Love and Thunder, Gore's problem is ultimately solved by making a wish to Eternity, but it seems like it could also have been solved by just finding another reality where his daughter didn't die, implying to me that Eternity is limited to a single universe. Listen again to where they have to find Eternity in Love and Thunder, the center of the universe.
Universe is not the multiverse, and we know multiverse exists because of Doctor Strange. So Nuni is one, multi is multiple of that one. So if one eternity exists in one universe, there are multiple different eternities in multiple different universes, cause they are the multiverse.
Not the center of the multiverse. So is Kang then the one in control of the multiverse a god? Nope. I don't think you can really call any of the Kang variants gods either. He who remains gets killed in his first appearance. Kang the Conqueror gets defeated by large ants. Not very impressive for a god. So even though they have the most multiversal power of any of the creations we've seen yet, even they aren't at the top of this heap. Honestly, when you look up and down the whole hierarchy of power here in the MCU, none of the characters we meet really seem to match up with the true idea of what a god should be. In one way or another, something always cancels them out. Something can destroy them. Something can make them mortal. And if we'd gone into this theory a year ago, I'd leave it there. There are no true gods in the MCU because ultimately there is no higher power. But I'm not convinced that that's the case anymore. One of the most heart-wrenching scenes in Guardians Volume 3 sees Rocket Raccoon's consciousness wake up in a misty white room. It's here that he speaks with the spirits of his lost friends. They tell him that they're flying through the forever sky and that he's welcome to join them, but just not yet. Rocket still has a purpose in the world. Rocket then asks, a purpose for what? They made us for nothing. And his friend disagrees, saying, there are the hands that make us, and then there are the hands that guide the hands. Now, this could all just be happening in Rocket's head. This could just be the brain of a dying animal trying to make sense of their life. A dramatic moment to add weight to a climactic scene. But to me, I think this confirms that the MCU has an afterlife. One beyond the astral planes of Black Panther. One beyond the field of reeds and Moon Knight. This feels like absolute confirmation that there is some sort of all-powerful force. The hands behind the hands.
Yeah! Just like how I mentioned in the end, gods in charge of the gods. And the gods were above those gods. See?
God figure running everything behind the scenes. And you won't believe where we really get that answer from.
Kevin?
It stands for knowledge and
You're the one who's making all the decisions here?
Yeah, I gotta be honest with you, I didn't really expect to get a whole lot of universe-altering knowledge from She-Hulk, attorney at law. But I think Kevin here, this robot insert for Marvel Studios head honcho Kevin Feige, is literally one of, if not the only, true god. One of the canonical creators of this universe. Firstly, this is how Marvel has tended to do it in the past. Several times throughout Marvel's 60-plus year comic run, many of their characters have encountered a being simply known as the One Above All. He most famously met the Fantastic Four using the form of a man who looked an awful lot like Jack Kirby, a man who channeled his immense power through something that looked an awful lot like a pencil. Now, if you don't know, Jack Kirby was the comic book writer and artist who had just as much of a hand in the creation of the Marvel Universe as Stan Lee did, if not more. He co-created dozens of the most popular characters: Captain America, Fantastic Four, the X-Men, Black Panther, Thor, the Eternals, the Celestials, just...
Wow, that's a lot of classic. Much respect to you, man. Much respect to you, sir.
To name a few. The choice to depict the one above all as Jack Kirby and his power as a pencil was not only a sign of respect towards him, but also it was just accurate.
Respect.
He was the one calling the shots. He was the one deciding who lived and who died. He was the one creating the rules of this universe. But now we're in the MCU, and the hands that guide the hands, it's not the creators anymore, it's the Kevins of the world. In James Gunn's original Vision of the Guardians trilogy, the original Gamora was never set to die. She had to die because the hands that guide the hands dictated that it had to happen in Infinity War. Now think about what they have to say to Rocket in the new movie. You have more purpose here. I suspect if this was just James Gunn's story, if he were truly the god of this world, Rocket's narrative would have ended here. But the true gods, the Kevins, or whoever's above him, they're the ones deciding
Disney
Rocket has more franchise potential. He has more to do. His narrative isn't over, and so he must live on. Now, you might love that this is a really meta answer, or you might absolutely hate it. I'm just here to tell you what the films themselves are saying, or at least what I suspect James Gunn here seems to be saying in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I feel like a lot of this is actually just commentary for him having to deal with a killed-off Gamora, but maybe I'm just reading too much into it. That said, there is one force that's even more powerful than Kevin, and that's us, you, the audience. In a lot of ways, we are the real gods of the MCU here.
We are the gods! We are the gods! What? Really? We are the gods? How?
As long as we keep watching the movies, the characters will continue to live on. And once we stop watching, well, that's when the Kevins of the world start to panic. It was our indifference and disappointment towards Phase 4 that got Kevin to slow down releases. At the end of the day, the Kevins of the world are ultimately serving us, and we are in the position of power deciding whether or not we approve of the offerings they give. They toil so we can consume, and if that's not a godlike relationship, I don't know what is. So while they might be the hands that are guiding the hands, we are the eyes watching it all happen, deciding whether or not we approve of their work. Here's the moral of the story, friends, and you best listen up, Marvel. If you can't answer important questions about your own universe, if you keep putting out stories that no one wants, if you can't get your act together and actually put out films that have heart and soul, the audience is gonna lose interest. They're gonna leave these characters behind for something better, and the likes of Star-Lord and Captain America and Iron Man, all of them will join the ranks of the pantheons long past. Stories we remember, but ones we just don't tell anymore. But hey, that's just a theory. A film theory. And cut.
Puny God! Oh my gosh, I feel bad for Loki, the god of mischief. Now just another bro. But Hawk is strong. It just proves how strong Hawk is. Hawk is above a god. Anyway, I want to see the meme at the back that my pet shared just now. The meme is, take a look.
But hey, that's just a theory.
The Among Us movie looks great. I knew it! I knew it! It was the Among Us joke. But hey, that's just a theory. A film theory. And cut. And I hope to see you all in my next video. Thank you so much. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to my channel, and comment down below if you have any share with us. Don't forget to follow my channel, and I hope to see you all in my next video. Please remember to click the notification bell. Thank you so much, and bye bye. Subscribe. Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye bye.